Alt Sports Talk, altsportstalk.com.
I just as soon kiss a Mookiee.
It's a podcast about Star Wars and the New York Mets.
All right, it's a podcast about Star Wars and the New York Mets, and we thought we'd connect and talk about those two topics. Jason, how you been?
I've been good. I'm sad we don't have more Mets baseball to watch, but I'm sure we'll cover that. And there is still other baseball, so which is usually the way it is in October.
Let's start there with other baseball. I just don't care. I'm not anti. If you watch 9 hours of playoff baseball a day and you enjoy it, that's awesome. I'm not saying it shouldn't exist. I'm just, once the Mets are done, I'm gone.
Oh, no, you can't do that. You can't do that, because before you know it, it's November. You've got absolutely nothing. And you got to slog through till February, and nothing actually happens in February. And then you get spring training games, but those are fun for, probably overstating this, 20 minutes. And then you're just incredibly bored with the whole thing, and then you got to wait till April. No. I revel in October baseball. I love, the storylines and being able to watch them without knowing that I'm going to get my heart ripped out if something goes wrong. And I love trying to figure out the matchup I want and who the Cinderella is, and then usually adjusting to seeing the Cinderella depart. No, you love it all. You love it all. You have to. And this year is so fun too, because we've got we've got three teams remaining: the Indians, who haven't won the World Series since '48, the Cubs, about which no more needs to be said, and the Dodgers, who I really care less about, but actually have a decent title drought of their own. So, no, I'm having a lot of fun watching it, and also wondering what's the World Series matchup I want. That's an interesting philosophical question. Any thoughts on it, or are you just so checked out you're not even going?
I'm checked out, and I don't know when it changed, because back in the 70s, when there was less playoff baseball, and definitely not any Mets playoff baseball, I used to do what all us kids did. You got home and you watched the 4 o'clock game and then the 8 o'clock game, and there were day games and things, and I watched them all. And all those playoff runs from 77 until 80-something, I probably watched every playoff game. I don't know if that there's more rounds, there's more to do. I have a full DVR, I have a PlayStation 4. I'm 47 years old, and my kids eat up a lot of time that might otherwise go to staring at, a Cubs game. I don't know. But for my entertainment choices, to sit down tonight and go, hey, I'm going to put on FS1 and watch Joe Buck do his thing. It's just not a choice I'm making. Again, I'm not hating on it. I'm not taking away from your enjoyment, but I'm out.
Yeah, I can see that. But, that's another one of the many reasons I love baseball is, baseball is rewarding at all levels of engagement. I mean, you can, I don't know an actual fan who does this, but there probably is one. You could chart every single pitch for, location and all that, and, have an absolute blast doing that. And you can drop in and out for, an hour and, read a magazine and do the laundry and stuff like that. And it's it's like an old companionable dog over in the corner of the living room. I mean, it's there. You could check in on it, and and just it'll give back however much you put into it, which is awesome. No, this is fun. I mean, the Indians winning would be amazing for that city. The Cubs. You probably remember a few years back there was the Cubs win the World Series fantasy ad for MLB 12 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Which is I'm not even a Cubs fan. I grew up hating the Cubs, in fact, but I had to confess about weeping about a video game ad, which is deeply embarrassing, but it was so well done that oh my God, that'd be amazing. So no, it's fun. And the complication now is if you've got a Cubs Indians World Series, it's kind of too much. It's like a sundae with an entire bottle of sprinkles on it. You're like, ugh. So you kind of want. I mean, Indians Dodgers would give you kind of a clear villain. I mean, sorry, LA, but you won in '88, and you employ Chase Utley. But then the danger of that is that the villain might win. So I don't know. Who knows? It'll be fun. And a Cubs-Indians World Series. I mean, my God, the planet might break in two.
Let's talk a little Mets. Mets postseason was about 3 hours long. Not surprisingly, still sad. We got some bonus postseason baseball that I don't think we thought we would get. To me, this is going to be one of those weird outliers where I'm playing on Baseball Reference in like 2029, and I'm like, wait, Robert Gazelman got like, X starts and won these games, and what was this team? Like, when I look back at, say, the 93-94 rosters, and I'm like, wait, Mike Piazza actually played 120 games at first base? I don't remember that. This just seems like it's going to be this weird, like, it was guys in Mets uniforms, but I'm not sure by the time we got to the end it was the Mets that we'll think of in the history books.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. Well, two things about that team, and it's sadly quickly eliminated postseason. One was that I was struck. I was reading against my will 10th anniversary articles about Carlos Beltran and the called strike three, and I was struck by how wounded pitching wise that team was too. That they lost Pedro. Then they lost El Duque, and, that's how you wound up with John Maine and Oliver Perez pitching, the most important games of the year. I mean, these two absolute unknowns who, we forget how new they were, and they were really Plan C. I mean, they were pretty much the Lugo and Gazelman of their time. And, so that struck me. The other thing, though, is this whole season was really a test of something that I kept saying down the stretch, and then, this had to prove whether or not it was true, which I was so astonished that the 2016 Mets, who were 60-62 and utterly dead, actually had something to play for in September, that I swore up and down that, all I wanted was one extra game, and if that was all I got, I would be, happy with this team and remember it fondly and consider the season a success. And, that's exactly what happened. And I found out I did feel this way. I mean, I still find myself muttering about last year's World Series and all the things that went slightly wrong enough for us to get our butts whipped. But, I was at peace with the 2016 season, 5 minutes after it was over. So, and that's a nice thing.
Yeah, I quickly was at peace as well. I also kind of needed the break. It's that same conversation. Last season was wonderfully longer than usual, and I did some travel in the off season, and especially over Christmas break. So I didn't do things that I normally do, like catch up on Blu-rays or video games or empty the DVR. So by the time October rolled around, I kind of was ready to just do some other stuff. Like, as much as I would have enjoyed and I would have sat through every minute of another 3-4 weeks of Mets baseball, having that time back has not been the worst thing for me.
Yeah, I can see that. Plus, that game was, there was really nothing to complain about in that game. Syndergaard was remarkable. Bumgarner was remarkable. The Mets had a bit of bad luck, and the one moment I still keep thinking about is Drupal Cabrera hitting that liner that Bumgarner somehow caught when it was ticketed for center field. But, even if that happens, we probably lose 3-1 instead of 3-0. It's just, you had two great starts, and it was going to come down to, it was going to come down to a bad pitch somewhere. And the bad pitch happened to be on our side of the ledger, and that was it. That's the way it goes sometimes. It wasn't, say, Game 7 in '88 against the Dodgers, where everything went wrong, and the team blew gears and parts and springs, and you had to sit there for 2 more hours. those are the ones you don't want to have. But, a clean, taut, hard-fought game that just happens to go the other guy's way, that's not the worst way to bow out.
No, agreed. So at some point this week, some newspaper, blog, somebody was first, somebody remembered that it was the 10-year anniversary of the Endy Chavez catch, which led to every other blog writing Me Too posts, and then I got all blog snobby about that. But as if everybody had, oh yeah, don't forget, it's the 10-year of the catch. I got to write, like, you had no idea it was the 10-year of the catch till you read it on whoever actually remembered, and the rest of you copied. Like, get out of here. No one was thinking of that. And it got me thinking about that catch, and because I like people to hate me, and as you know and listeners know, I think the Piazza home run is the most overrated thing ever. I'm adding this to the list of most overrated things ever. It was a nice catch, but 10 years later, like, I wasn't thinking about that catch. I haven't thought about that catch in 9.5 years.
Oh, come on now. No, that was a great moment. It was a great moment. It was one of the signature moments of the franchise.
Do you think of it?
Sure.
I'm going to trick you. I'm going to come back like 7 episodes from now and just say, hey, Chase, let's just do the history of the franchise. And you're going to go, Casey, Seaver, 69, 73, 86, 88. You're not going to mention the catch. You're going to mention Beltran. You're not going to mention the catch.
Well, I'll undo myself because in the early days of Citi Field, I shouldn't give away this advantage, but in the early days of Citi Field, I was thinking about all the things they were screwing up, and I made a list of like the top 20 Mets moments that ought to be there, and the catch was on there. So I actually have a list. So he won't be able to get me. But,
I would love to hear the list.
But to bring it back to Citi Field, I mean, one thing I do like is, I think that once the Mets finally remembered that their park was supposed to have Mets in it, they putting the outline of Swoboda and Endy on left field and right field was a great touch. It's exactly the kind of thing that stadiums ought to have. And, so if nothing else, I mean, whenever I go in left field, I always think of the catch, which is exactly what that's supposed to do.
Okay, fair point. I can get off my high horse sometimes and concede a point. Let's turn our attention to Star Wars. We have found out, you probably have known this for 30 years and, hell, might have even written it, but we have found out why the bad guys' lightsabers are red.
That's in the new Ahsoka book, right? Is that the thing?
Yeah. E.K. Johnston's novel Ahsoka.
I have not gotten to read that yet, though I just got the notice that it's on the way from Amazon. I'm very excited to read it. I actually, at New York Comic Con, got to sit down as part of a very fun dinner with E.K., and she's a terrific writer and thinker about these things. So I'm really excited for that book. And for her, because I believe it is number 1 on the New York Times YA bestseller list, which is awesome for her and awesome for Star Wars. So very excited to read that. But the lore about Sith crystals, it actually hadn't quite been locked down like that. The old lore used to be that they were synthetic, and I think that was the reason they were red. But I like this new version better. Something you may find interesting, though, and hopefully listeners will too. There was an interesting discussion on Twitter the other day about this. Pablo Hidalgo of the Lucasfilm Story Group noted that lightsaber colors. Some people kind of want to turn them into sort of the sorting hat of Star Wars for Jedi, which seems to make a certain amount of sense. But Pablo went back to the reasons they're different colors, and they're really quite simple. Here, a quiz for you: why does Luke? Forget about lore, etc. Why practically does Luke have a green saber in Return of the Jedi? Do you know, or can you guess?
I don't know, and I could probably sit here for a minute and a half and figure it out. If we were doing this over email, yes. I won't torture the listeners and have them listen to me going, So well, here, I don't know.
we're going to torture the listeners. Where do we first see Luke fighting with it in Return of the Jedi?
Return of the Jedi, he would be on nearby the Jabba barge, right?
Yeah, the sail barge, etc., which is outside. What color is the sky?
The sky is blue? I can't take you on in this.
The sky is blue, that's right. And Luke's original lightsaber that he loses on Cloud City is what color?
Is blue.
Okay, so you have a blue sky and a blue saber. Is that going to work?
It is not.
It is not. So Luke has a green saber. Bingo. That's it. That's the reason. That was what Pablo brought that up, and I thought that was great. It's a good memory of, yeah, we love this stuff, and the lore is awesome, and I'm glad there's a reason for Sith sabers, and I'm eager to know about that. But, this comes down to, decisions made in Yuma, Arizona, on a set where someone's looking at the sky being blue and is like, well, okay, how about this? Which is, I think a good reminder for us all not to get too lost in this stuff, even while we have fun with it.
And as a kid with the original figures, I used to rip the sabers out of the arms and put them in different arms because I thought red looked cooler, so I often played with a Luke with a red saber.
Oh yeah, no, it looked awesome, and and I even liked Luke's yellow saber that he had at the beginning. I thought that was pretty great, even though it was not accurate to Luke.
So I don't think I spoiled the actual reason. Is it okay if I spoil the actual reason?
Yeah, it's a cool tidbit.
So am I saying this right? Kyber crystal?
Kyber crystals, yeah.
Kyber crystal. Okay. So after it's discovered by someone gifted with the Force, the crystal picks the color. But for those on the dark side, the only way to get one is to steal it, causing the crystal to bleed and make it red. So the crystal's picking your color.
Yeah, I dig it.
Pretty cool. Some other Star Wars news. Dole is to sell Star Wars fresh produce. The Star Wars is teaming up with fruit. So you'll soon see Darth Vader selling pineapples, leading to the question, is that canon?
I'm going to say no.
But everything is canon.
Yeah, this is always fun. Gillette sent me some release about there's you can get the Star Wars razor pack, and they I love this. They made sure I knew it was under embargo. I was like, you're talking to the wrong guys, so whatever. But I had to admit at the same time, I was like, oh, that's cool. Do I need it? And I was like, no, I don't. Sure, I've got 50 razors. So yeah, this always happens when we're around a new movie, and I think like a lot of fans, I simultaneously kind of roll my eyes, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I wonder what we're gonna, what are we gonna see at CVS or in the supermarket, and roll our eyes about it and simultaneously be happy that it's there.
We didn't talk about the Rogue One trailer, which looks just really cool. This looks like we all got frozen in 1983, woke up in 2016, and told people what we want a Star Wars movie after Empire to look like. This is just looks like action and fun and a different take on the universe. Just awesome. Can't wait.
Yeah, no, I won't pretend that I know nothing. I actually do know quite a bit, but yeah, with every bit that gets out there, I find myself getting more excited for this movie. I really like the vibe of it, and as you note, I like the look and feel of it. It really does feel like it fits in that time, both in terms of movie making and the story. And yeah, I'm really excited. I was up in New England on a trip and went to Target, and there were the Rogue One figures, so I bought a whole bunch of them, including K2SO, the really cool droid, and the and some of the other guys, including I bought this tells a lot about me. I bought the Imperial Ground Crew figure, which I don't know if you've seen this yet. He's literally the guy at JFK who stands there with the orange flashlights waving planes in. He has them. He has JFK orange flashlight batons in his hands. And but unlike JFK, he's wearing cool black armor that looks like a Death Star gunner. And I mean, it's from a rational perspective, this has to be one of the most boring figures ever created. It's the guy in the Imperial Army who can't even miss people as a stormtrooper, so he winds up weaving his little lights so TIE fighters can land. But I was like, oh, that's awesome, and immediately bought one and started fiending for how I could get another one. So yeah, so it's safe to say that I have bought in, and I'm pretty excited.
No, it looks great. So you're in this interesting place where you have more knowledge than I do. So in some ways that's cool. I mean, in lots of ways it's super cool, especially as you take the role you do in helping create this universe. But on the other hand, is it hard for you that you don't get to walk into the theater with the same wonder and amusement I will in December?
Yeah, and this is something no one feels sorry for me about, and no one should feel sorry for me about. But it is true. I tell, particularly when I do school visits, because I write kids' books, I tell kids this all the time, and they never believe me, but it's true. Is that that's really cool. I mean, it is really neat knowing these things, but it's a lot less fun than you would think because you don't have anybody to talk to about it. And, that's really the fun of stories, is talking about, oh, that part was the greatest, oh, I really love that, or, also, what was going on with that part, or that didn't work for me. I mean, that to me is the fun of it, is arguing about this stuff and talking about it, et cetera. And, for obvious reasons, you can't do that. And then when the time finally comes where that can happen, it's not new to you. And so you're kind of left out of that, which is something that, you just kind of have to accept. And I mean, there are lots of things that are cool about it, but I found myself missing that a lot more than I would have thought, which is too bad. But no, in answer to your question though, I remember when The Force Awakens came out, I really had to see it twice to actually, appreciate it. I mean, I knew I was going to see it twice anyway, but the first time I was mostly just, I was kind of sitting there with a red pen in my hands, comparing what was on screen to, the books I'd already written about it and worrying about, what didn't match up because of publishing times and the movie and, monitoring the audience to see what worked, et cetera. And so it was really the second time that I really enjoyed it properly, because then I could just kind of, throw the red pen away and sit back and be like, oh, that was awesome. So I'm sure that'll be true again this time. But, that's kind of the way it goes.
It's just an amazing time, Star Wars-wise, that we're living in. I started thinking the other day about Star Wars Detours. So for those who don't know, that was going to be an animated, jokey Star Wars series that was in For Reals development. I was at a Star Wars celebration and saw For Reals clips, and I think they're on YouTube. Star Wars Detours basically having nothing but fun with the tropes of the original trilogy, and it looked like the franchise was done, and all right, we were just going to get that kind of stuff from now on. And man, now we're living in just this, I'm staring at this Rogue One trailer on loop as we record here, and wow, we're getting this. Didn't expect to get this. Never thought I'd see Han Solo again. This is amazing.
Yeah, and next year there'll be Episode 8, which is exciting. And next week there's a new Rebels with Captain Rex and some odd stuff about battle droids. I don't even know. That's just what I got from the little sneak peek. And amazing things happening with video games. Yeah, it's fun. It's And, I say this again and again, but I think it's worth saying again and again. I mean, I remember being a kid, and it was, 3 years between movies, and then there were no movies, and then there was, one comic book a month, and that was it. And, oh my God, I had such a reservoir for Star Wars that, there was just kind of, a few drips and drops into, and, what I wouldn't have done to be able to fast forward to now. It's amazing.
Yeah, you start to wonder now as you and I approach 50, is the Star Wars franchise going to outlive us? Might there be an episode 21 that you and I don't see?
Oh, I'm sure it will. And that's great. It'll, I'm sure our kids will pass it down to their kids, which is great.
Yeah. So final note and a bit of a reward for folks that stuck through the podcast. I don't think this is actually announced, and I'm even on the committee. I know I haven't announced it, but I'm going to announce it here. I can tell you when the Queen's Baseball Convention is going to be, Jason.
Oh, wow. Cool. We have a date? That's awesome.
It is January 28th. It will be at Catch Astoria, which is 3119 Newtown Avenue. Not that I expect people to grab a pen and write that down, but Catch Astoria, January 28th. It's got good subway access, and it's right off the Grand Central, so people will be able to get there. Hopefully this year, no horrible blizzard. But we've been quietly poking around at making it happen, and Catch is cool enough to host us, so we'll do it January 28th.
That's awesome. All right. Mark your calendars.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Now a bit of the work of putting together the panels and whatnot, but I know which players are coming, and I'll let Keith Media Goon announce that when he's ready. But should be another good one. Again, hopefully no blizzard.
Yeah, no, I'll do an unsolicited plug for it. It's if you haven't had a chance to go to the earlier ones, you really should. It really is just, it's New York Mets celebration. It's awesome. It's it's everyone who's as crazy as you are in one place at the point on the calendar year when you really need a dose of Mets most. And I look forward to it every year, and was really sad when the blizzard wiped it out last year. So we'll see you there.
That blizzard discussion, and again, in the end, it became there was no way you could have had this. That was a major blizzard. But the days leading up to that, the stress of, I don't know, do we go for it? Do we not go for it? Are we going to lose people? Can so-and-so make it? They're saying 8 inches of snow, 12 inches of snow. It was torture just trying to figure that out. And of course, it was the one day all winter it snowed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was the entire snowfall for the year, but at the worst possible time.
Yeah, but hey, we'll be back. It will be good. Again, the program design is really just to try and do like a Comic-Con for Mets fans. That's what we're trying to do here. So we'll get together, we'll talk stuff, we'll have some players come by. Gil Hodges Award, I know who's getting that. It's a famous person in the franchise. So that should be good. And, see everybody January 28th.